Hello, and welcome to the Friday Vinyl Club, where every day feels like a Friday and every album tells a story. Here we drop the needle on the records that didn't just play in our lives, but shaped them. I'm Jamie, and each episode I invite a guest to bring along one special record, an album that means something deep to them, and we chat about the music, the memories, and the moments that came with it. It's not about chart positions or critical reviews, it's about the personal soundtracks, the ones that stayed with us long after the needle lifted. This week, I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Katrine from Copenhagen. I first met Katrine back at a gig in 2022, and since then, I've had the privilege of becoming great friends and part of her Nick Cave fan community, the Vortex, built around music, meaning, and creativity. Katrine's pick for this Friday Vinyl Club is No More Shall We Part by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, released in 2001. This album marked a profound return for Cave after a 4-year hiatus, a record full of haunting beauty, lyrical depth, and emotional weight. But before we dive into the album and Katrine's take on this masterpiece, let's rewind a little. Katrine, welcome. How are you feeling today?
Feeling good? Great. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm looking forward to this conversation. Music in general, where do you start? What's your earliest musical memory? What really stuck with you?
That's a tough one. I have been kind of trying to think back. I think there was just always music in my house growing up. My dad was an avid vinyl collector, so we always had music on in the background, and um, my mom listened to music as well, so it was just always around us. And he also he had like folk rock bands and played a lot of music too. So we were kind of roped in early on, me and my sister, to do singing and choir for that. So it was just very much part of my upbringing, both listening to music and performing.
Were there any particular bands or artists of the time that was in his record collection? Did you sneak through?
Yeah, it was a really good collection of there's a lot of I kind of rifled through it because part of my story is that I have it here, his collection in my shelf, or like a curated selection of it. So there's a lot of Pink Floyd and The Who. Was very into like Cream and Tyrannosaurus Rex, and then there's a bit of the folk rock like Fairport Convention, Steel Ice Band, Tim Buckley, and like the great influencer, or the great sound of my childhood is Leonard Cohen, which was played a lot. My mom kind of had more of a she wanted more like, I wouldn't say easy listening, but she was more like calming pop music. She listened to a lot of Enya and Peter Cetera, but she did have some the Doors records that were in our collection. That was definitely her contribution to the collection.
So you had balance there by the sound.
She did.
Yeah.
She's
Well,
also the one that instilled in me that David Bowie is like the pinnacle of, he's like the model of a man that we should all like aspire to. That comes from her as well.
I think as musical inputs go, your parents were pretty cool.
I think
You
so.
know,
Yeah.
I compare that to my parents. I had Barry Manilow ringing in my ears for most of my childhood,
Mm.
right? So, you were quite blessed. How did you end up curating some of your father's vinyl at your place? Was that gifted to you?
Yeah, I had it passed to me. Yeah, about 10 years ago, he decided to digitalize his whole collection. So he like went about just recording everything onto digital formats, and then he didn't need the physical albums anymore. So he kind of let me and my younger sister, she also has a record player, so he let us rifle through the collection and just grab what we wanted. I mean, it's on loan. It's not mine. It's still his, but it lives here with me. And that was actually how me and my husband got into vinyl collecting, was that we took over those albums, and then we needed a turntable. And
Yeah.
my dad loaned us one of his old ones, and then me and my husband are both really dedicated to good sound. We need like things to sound really good. And it didn't on the one that, like the turntable that we borrowed, so we had to invest. So that's kind of where that started 10 years ago or so.
So that was 10 years ago, but do you remember the first vinyl you purchased yourself, as maybe a teenager? Were you in the
Yeah,
vinyl
I
fan?
I wasn't into vinyls back then. The first music I bought was like cassettes.
Okay.
and then onto CDs. So I didn't really start buying vinyl until quite recently, like yeah, within the last 10 years. And I think the first ones I bought were like really random secondhand stuff that I found in flea markets. So I was kind of thinking back to it today and like preparing for this, and I think one of the first like new ones that I bought was Ghosteen actually.
Oh,
Was
okay.
one of my was like my first new purchase when we had everything installed and had the good sound and everything.
Yeah, and obviously Ghosteen being one of Nick Cave's newer
Yeah,
releases.
from 2019, which is also a masterpiece and could have been my pick for today.
So you as you're growing up, you've got your parents' music surrounding you. You're developing your own music tastes. You're buying cassettes and CDs. Are you
Mm.
getting out at a relatively young age to see live music at all? You've mentioned you and your sister potentially in a choir and things like that. Were you getting out with your sister or with your friends?
Yeah,
Um,
we live kind of in the country, so we didn't have access to a lot of like big shows. So of course I grew up with kind of going with my dad to whatever he went to, which was like the folk music stuff that made it out to the sticks where we were. The first live show I remember going to with my I have two sisters, so the first live show I remember going to with my older sister, and we went to Copenhagen to see East 17. That was like my first introduction to the live experience, and I managed to pass out and, like, be picked up by security and the whole thing, so I was pretty proud of
i-
myself.
is that due to excitement or was that due to the heat?
So I think it was the heat and dehydration,
All right.
but it was definitely a big night for us.
Did you go to E17 because, that was a band that you were into at the time?
Me and my sister were really into E17. I started out in pop. I mean, my first big, like, loves were, Michael Jackson, and, then we had a boy band phase, which was E17 and then Take That. So that's kinda where I started. I think the first music that I picked for myself that I still listen to is that was when I found Radiohead,
Okay.
like around the time of the Bends. And I guess the first like I started going to a Roskilde festival here in Denmark when I was I think the first year I went. Radiohead had just released OK Computer, so they were there, and Smashing Pumpkins were there with just off Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. That was an epic year.
So at some point between these gigs, you've got that pop boy band culture going on. You're starting
Mm,
to drift into that group of Radiohead and that sort of space. So
yeah.
so what started pulling you towards Nick Cave and his music?
Yeah. I don't know, like I was aware of him definitely. And I think the first songs that I became aware of were Into My Arms, I think, and probably the Murder Ballads. I remember hearing Where the Wild Roses Grow with Kylie Minogue, and being like aware that he was there. But and I think I went to Roskilde Festival consecutively for a lot of years, and I did see a Nick Cave gig there, and I think it must have been off Murder Ballads, but it hadn't really clicked yet. So the one that clicked is actually the one that I picked for today, which was No More Shall We Part. That was kind of where I kind of found him, as it were.
That's probably a really good entry point then into starting to talk about this particular album.
Mm.
So any particular tracks
Mm.
that were your entry point into this?
Well, the first track on the album, as I said, "Sadly by Her Side," is still like my favorite song in the whole world. I remember you when I was trying to pick an album, and you kindly said, "Well, just think of like what album would you take on a deserted island, and what would be like if you could only listen to one album for the rest of your life, then which one would it be?" So that would definitely be "No More Shall We Part," and then, as I said, "Sadly by Her Side" would be the song if you only let me pick one. I connected with that right away, I think.
And it's an absolutely
Um,
beautiful track, isn't it?
It's beautiful. It's just everything. I mean, it's the whole buildup of I listened to it today. To the whole album today. I listened to that track in particular. It's like the whole buildup. It's just every like all the instruments coming in one by one and everything building up to those yeah. Uh,
I was remembering you'd submitted the album into the Instagram at JamieB1973, and I was trying to remember the words that you actually wrote in there, and
Mm.
said that you couldn't explain, you've tried. It's something about the voice, the mood of the
Yeah.
album, the subject matter, faith, love, grief, happiness, and finding love combined with the fear of losing it. The constant pleas of love coming through the lyrics. Please stay, please come back, please love me, please
Mm.
don't stop loving me. The contracts are drawn up, come back to me. And I just thought, oh my God, that is absolute. I couldn't have articulated it myself anywhere near.
Mm.
Um, but could you remember the first time you heard that track?
Yeah. Yeah. The moment that I heard this album first time is like it's really clear to me now, and there's like there's a story behind how this was like a lost memory for me that came back, and it's also part of the reason why I feel so connected to Nick Cave in general, because actually it was my mom who bought this album, and it was 2001. As we said, I found out that that's when it came out. And I have a really vivid memory of like we're sitting in the living room, and I think she must have read a review or something, and like I said, we were mildly aware of Nick Cave, and I think she read a review of the album and then decided to that might be something for us, and she bought it, and we put it on in the living room, and I really clearly remember sitting like on the living room floor with her in the chair, and we put this on and we listened to it together, and something just clicks, and I don't know, it's the voice, it's the whole mood of it. It's um and I remember distinctly No More Shall We Part as one of the ones that like really drew us in. But I had actually forgotten about this. But then when Nick went on his conversation tour in what must have been uh, when was that? 2017, 2018. And he came to Copenhagen, and I was lucky enough to get a ticket, and I was in the audience, and like the minute he sat down by the piano and he played No More Shall We Part, that whole memory just came back to me, and I had completely forgotten. But it
Wow.
just came rushing back, and I kind of connected that with when I went back and found out what year it came out and what year it must have been that I had this memory from. Is like the year before my mom got sick and I lost her. So it's like
Oh, but
really it's yeah. So that's why I think that's why my connection to this album is really strong.
it's deeply personal, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Okay.
also a masterpiece.
Absolutely. I mean, musically, lyrically, it's incredible, right?
Mhm.
And it is one of my favorite albums from Nick. But yeah, I mean, part of the reason we do this podcast is to connect to, not just the music, but the memories that
Mm.
are held within them. And I can imagine the power of this particular album and the memory that you've just recounted there of you and your mum listening to this album together for the first time.
Mhm.
Uh, it's got to have such resonance. And I can imagine that's why it still resonates with you today. And one of the real big reasons as to why you would, as you said, take it with you on that desert island. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, yeah. It's yeah, I'm just really emotionally connected to it. And like I'm not gonna
Mm.
like you said, he has so many masterpieces in his back catalog. So it's like I'm not gonna say that I think that's the best he's ever been, but it's definitely the one I've connected most to.
He wrote it at a relatively strange time for himself as well. I mean, on Nick's journey, he was he's just coming out of the a drug and alcohol addiction, and the album's often described as, really deeply reflective work. It's full of themes of redemption and love. You know, I guess now you've embedded yourself in his work. Do you hear that kind of emotional shift compared to some of his earlier work? Do
Oh,
you say
definitely.
compare?
Yeah, I've yeah, it's definitely where it gets very personal. I mean it's something that starts with the Boatman's Call, of course, is kind of more personal songwriting where he goes away from like the narrative and like telling stories and more to dealing with his own emotions and his own like bringing himself into it in a different way. Um And I think that definitely continues in No More Shall We Part. And it's so funny because I've tried to introduce some people to Nick Cave during the years, of course, and one was my sister-in-law, and I kind of put, because she doesn't like, she's not into like dark stuff, so I'm like, all right, I'll put this on because this is like Nick Cave being happy, and she was like, this is Nick Cave being happy. I'm like, yeah, this is happy album. Because he's like, it's about Susie, and it's about, so much of it is like I said, is like, it's the contracts are drawn up, we're together, we're in this, we're doing this, but there's still like all that doubt and that heaviness that's always going to be a part of his universe and his music. And she was like, all right, so Nick is happy here. I'm like, yep,
Yeah.
this is happy Nick.
From a perspective of the way the record sounds, there are certain records that I listen to, and I do think they feel a little bit dated, so they're of the time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
When I listen to this, I don't get that sense. I get a feeling that this album feels timeless. It doesn't feel dated when I listen back to it. Do you feel that, or do you feel actually no, it captures the early 2000s?
No, it's completely timeless to me as well.
All right, let's think about the tracks. You've already called out the opening track, but are there any others that you might call out? I mean, obviously, there's some absolute gorgeous songs on here. I mean, I've got my copy in front of me, my vinyl, my bootleg vinyl. My copy is an orange-coloured vinyl, which I later discovered on Discogs was an unofficial bootleg. It's not particularly worth too much money, but it is quite unique. But yeah, there are so many beautiful songs on here. But Love Letter is obviously one that jumps out to me personally. But
yeah,
what
that's
about
just like one of those perfect ones. Yeah, it's a perfect, beautiful little song.
it is absolutely gorgeous, isn't it?
Yeah.
Are there any other hidden gems in here that you really enjoy?
Yeah, well, apart from enjoying, everything, I
Everything.
was I was
We're talking tracks. Come on, let
talking tracks.
our
Yes, yes.
listeners
I
give 'em
think
some
I think
names.
it's a really good mix of like the dark stuff. I think the reason why this is a really good like just album as a whole, also I think representative of Nick Cave and his songwriting, is because we have meaningful stuff where he like tackles life and death and the world and everything, and then we have like a little gem like God Is in the House, which is so funny.
Yeah.
And like it just handles these themes of like and I think that's kind of what drew me into these themes of like religion and just like the cross between like the practicing religion and what religion is. And that was like, I brought up like a good atheist, and so that was really funny. That song really stuck with me, the lyrics in that. And I think like, and a different track that's really grown on me that I didn't pay that much attention to is Darker with the Day. And
Oh,
that's really one that's kept growing on me, and it also has like some of the greatest lines he's ever written. Like for example, as the steeple tore the stomach from a lonely little cloud, which is a line that I just absolutely love.
when you listen to albums over years, songs can take on different meanings as we go into different chapters of our lives, and they can
Mm,
they can take on you know, different resonance as we listen to them.
mm-hmm,
And Nick's songs are a bit like chameleons in that regard. I find, as you know, as an avid fan, I can hear his songs at one stage in my life and they mean something, and then I might find myself in a different phase of my life, and it might be a more challenging phase of my life, and I listen to a song and I hear it differently, and I pick
mm-hmm,
up on different aspects, or I might hear the words, they might land differently to me,
mm-hmm.
and they give me more comfort and support, whereas previously it might have just given me joy. Do you find any of that with the tracks on this album?
I think these songs have just been companions. Yeah. So they always, it's always like coming home to me listening to this album and listening to these tracks, and then
Mm.
some of them stand out more. And as I kind of re-listen, I think I always felt like Meet Me at the Gate, or is it, what's it called? Gates to the Garden?
Take the Garden, yeah.
Yeah, that always felt like a bit superfluous superfluous to me. Like, it's a really nice song, but now when I listen to it, it's like I think it just goes so beautifully in closing up the album, kind of, and it, like, in connection with all the others, it sits there really beautifully.
Mm.
And I would like to point out that one of the notes I made when I re-listened, like tracks like Hallelujah and Oh My Lord, the build up in those two, and the themes of just this male figure who's just lost and can't make sense of anything, and like their world is kind of unraveling, and I think that kind of echoes like on to something like Higgs Boson Blues in Push the Sky Away later on.
Mm.
Um, so it's funny to make those connections. And I would say when you listen to the album all the way through, to really pay attention to the transitions, like the transition between Oh My Lord and then onto Sweetheart Come is
Yeah.
just perfect. It's just chef's kiss, like going from that climax and then just straight into Come On Babe, it ain't that bad. It's
Yes.
That's just beautiful.
Isn't it interesting how with Nick's work, we can make connections between songs that he's written 20 years ago to songs that he's, writing now,
Mm, yeah.
and draw parallels and connections, such as the way that he writes. And
Yeah.
isn't it just wonderful, these story arcs that we can pick up on that maybe are intentional or maybe completely, maybe they're little
Yeah.
doorways that he leaves open, maybe maybe that
I
it's
think it's
something that
just
we
it's things
advance
that it's just things that he keeps kind of grappling with, I think, and they just keep finding their way into just subconsciously, or probably because that's what he's concerned with. That's what his
Mhm.
subject matter is, and it just keeps sneaking back in. It's like little like treasure a little treasure hunt sometimes, like finding those little,
Little
yeah. Like, when I
right.
was listening to I spent some of the pandemic kind of just going back and listening to the whole back catalog, and like, in, The Firstborn is Dead, there's something that, like, bops and hops, and then when you get to Push the Sky Away, we have things like hopping and bopping in Higgs Blues also. So it's just funny finding those little
Those
recurring lines.
little connections.
Yep.
The thing I love about this album is it ebbs and flows. I think
Mhm.
you've got those beautiful ballads, but you've got the
Mm.
more up tempo music songs on there as well. One song that I really, really enjoy, and it's reinforced by the music video as well, is 15 Feet of Pure White Snow. What are your
Yes.
thoughts on that song?
It's a funny one because it's obviously it's a gorgeous song. I mean, the whole build up and that little piano theme that goes
Yeah,
through it. Dun, 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 dun. Um, it's a great song, but it kind of sits outside the others, I think, because the theme is so different and the vibe of it is so different from a lot of the other
it's a bit of an outlier, isn't it?
tracks. Yeah, it is. But I really enjoy it. Yeah, it's a gorgeous song.
A bit of an outlier and a bit kooky.
Mhm. And that's reinforced by the music video as well, which is it's just they came together and, like, got hammered and danced. That's kind of how that came about.
Along with the band, you've got three notable famous faces in there. So Jarvis Cocker from Pulp,
Mhm.
Australian actor Noah Taylor in there, and bizarrely, you've got Jason Donovan. Do
It's
you have
so
any
absurd.
what what was the history there? Have you any idea? I mean, was it the fact this was this was after Kylie, right? So was it a case of he'd seen Kylie and Nick together and thought, I need to get in on this?
Maybe, yeah, that's how to get, like, get
That's how
cool.
to get cool.
Yeah. I don't I think I've, like, heard an interview where they mentioned it, and I think it was pretty random who, like, showed up. I think they just made, like, basically an open call, like, to their friends and whatnot to, like, come, and we're gonna make a music video, and, like, we're gonna have an attempt at some synchronized dancing, and we're gonna just basically have a party and film it.
So let's think about the cover art. One of the great things about having vinyl is having the album in our hands, the big album art.
Mm.
Um, and this is a gorgeous painting by Stefanos Roukos, reflecting the themes after marriage and overcoming addiction. What's your thoughts on the painting, the front and the back cover? It seems to perfectly fit the mood and the vibe of the album. But
Yeah.
any thoughts?
Well, I think it's gorgeous. I'm looking out to have it on a poster hanging in my hallway. Um, it's Yeah, like you say, I mean, it's got the beauty and it's got the darkness. It's got kind of it really encapsulates the mood of the album, I think. And it's a whole exhibition with like paintings that were inspired by the album. So it's not just the ones that are on the actual album. I think there's a whole collection of paintings.
I'll
But yeah,
try.
it's really gorgeous. It's beautiful. And that is one of the things I love about like the vinyl, apart from it being like really good, really nice to just listen to vinyl, and it really gives the music an extra quality, and having someone having thought of how to present the album visually, I think it's really beautiful.
And I think they've um, they've put a lot of thought into keeping it simple as well.
Mm.
So Nick's got a huge back catalogue, and if you were ex- going to suggest to one of our listeners an entry point into Nick's work, is No More Shall We Part the album that you would recommend that they would start to listen to Nick?
Well, it really, I mean, it always depend on who it is. I mean, to kind of find out where are they now, but I would probably, to someone who's just starting out, I would recommend Push the Sky Away as like the entry Nick Cave, because I don't know, it just has like also has like a timeless quality, I think, and some amazing tracks.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, it really depends what place you're coming from, I think. Because I think that No More Shall We Part would be also a great entry album for other people. Um, I wouldn't like get them started on Birthday Party. Are they coming from rock? Are they coming from something really noisy, or are they coming from like, for some people the Boatman's Call, like the like really like pure as like beauty of that could draw them in. So it's there's a lot to choose from, as you said.
I must admit, I have tried and failed numerous times to
Mm.
integrate Nick into my friends' soundtracks, and tried various entry points, and they just look at me bewildered. They just they just don't get it. They don't understand. Um, which brings me round to going to gigs, and I like to talk to people about recurring offenders who, we have. I talk to people who go to music gigs and they'll go see an artist or a band maybe once on a tour, an occasional thing, and then I've got friends such as yourself, where we will go to multiple gigs time after time, year after year, following an artist around. Um,
Mm.
what is it about Nick, after he's come into your life and you've started to go see him live? What's so special that keeps drawing you back time after time to see him?
Well, Nick is always gonna be, like, special to me because I there's, like, a really emotional connection there. But apart from that, then there is just no better live band than the Bad Seeds, than Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. I mean, I think what I search out when I go to live music is, like, finding this transcendent experience, this kind of, um I'm not religious, like I said, I'm atheist, but live shows are really like my church of sorts. It's kind of it's where you get like taken out of yourself and taken somewhere else, and like you feel like you're part of something greater. And there's just no one that does that better than Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. I think that kind of reaching that climax that is almost like transcendent, where you feel like you're doing like you're part of something really special that really lifts people up. Um, Yeah, no one does that better.
And I think you have to experience it to understand it.
Mm.
And it's sometimes it's very difficult to articulate to people who haven't experienced it just how powerful that
Mm.
feeling is.
Yeah.
And, you know, um, we've both experienced the power of being on that front row, of being preached in some
Mhm.
way
Yeah, exactly.
by Nick. And yeah, I echo your sentiment and your words. It's an incredible experience, and
Mm.
I wish I could get to many more gigs. I envy you. I watch you travel around, globe trotting, clocking up so many more.
I've had a good few years, I'd say. Yeah.
You have, yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, what I find wonderful about not just you, but about the Vortex community and the Nick Cave fan base at large is there's always the community spirit there to share.
Mhm.
So the you guys are going out there, and those fans who are not able to get to gigs, they're always able to see the some of the gigs, snippets of the gigs, whether it's through social media,
Mm.
Facebook or Instagram, whatever. So you can still feel part of something, even if you're not actually there in person. You're there in spirit, and that's
Mm.
enabled by people within the wider community. And I think that's a beautiful thing. So that's a great entry point into the Vortex community. And I said earlier that it's got that purpose of sparking a sense of joy, creativity around Nick's music and art.
Mm.
Grown organically and evolved over the years, and you've really held that space with love and thoughtfulness, and really brought together so many different people from so many different walks of life,
Mm.
and given them that sense of community. So remind me how it all began.
Well, it all began in lockdown, which is it's an amazing thing that came out of the huge tragedy or those really strange years during the pandemic with COVID-19, because what happened was Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds were about to go on tour in 2020. They had the whole European tour booked, and then it all got canceled, and we were all told to go home and shut our doors and not come out. And on the day that they were meant to have their first show in France, they instead launched Bad Seed TV, which was a 24-hour live transmission on YouTube, which was in the beginning, it was music videos and interviews, just Nick Cave archive stuff, along with like some never before seen footage from like jam sessions and stuff. It was a really special place, and it came with a live chat room, and that was where we started finding each other, because it really became a place that we could go and like get away from the that really strange time. I mean, some people were like locked away alone in their apartments, just being lonely, and they could come there and watch these videos and find people to talk to. And people like me, I was trapped in my apartment with my family, which was great, but sometimes you also needed to kind of get away and get your head away from that. So it just started in that chat room that we started talking to each other, and that kind of evolved, and Nick sometimes joined the chat, and Warren Ellis sometimes joined and chatted along with us. And then they started doing these things where they got the idea that the fans could also contribute to the what was played in the live stream. So they started asking for fan videos, and then they asked for cover songs and cover videos. So we really started getting like responding to those calls and collaborating with each other around making these like videos and covers, and it was amazing what you could actually accomplish just sending like files around the world to each other, because really it was people from all over in that chat. So we started connecting outside of that chat room too, on other platforms like the Instagram and the Instagram came late. We started out on just private messaging and Facebook, and we have found a Discord server, and yeah, it grew from there to be like a whole community of people who were like engaging and doing in creative things, and
Uh-huh.
also just finding each other and finding someone to talk to. And it was the name The Vortex came actually when the live stream closed down again. It was Warren Ellis who named us in the very last chat we had before they
Ah,
closed the
okay.
channel down. So what happened was that Nick and Warren kind of named Bad Seed TV the Vortex because they had these little funny like hand-drawn promos that were playing, which was a telephone conversation between Nick and Warren, and then they did these little cartoons and played the audio over it, and then Warren is trying to do a promo for Bad Seed TV, and he says, "Step into the vortex," and that was kind of where that started. Um, and so the Bad Seed TV was the vortex, and then what happened in the very last chat we had when we knew they were closing it down, and we had like our last big session of watching videos. He just started typing in all caps, "You are the vortex! You are the vortex!" So
Brilliant.
we were named.
And then obviously when live gigs started coming back round again and we were coming out of lockdown, there were shows where Nick was actively calling out the Vortex on stage, wasn't he? How did that feel?
Well, apart that from the fact that he was like calling us deformed and demented, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was
Can
like
you touch
it
on that?
became his whole thing. No, it was very surprising actually. I was at the first because that was the tour that started in 2022 when he started playing. Well, they played the Vortex. They played Vortex on that tour, and I was at the very first gig because I was in Denmark, and I was in the front row, and it was like the last of the encores was Vortex, and he just looked straight at me and said, "This is for you guys. This is for the Vortex." And then he played Vortex, and I could have passed out. And then like pretty much all the concert dates on that tour, he would introduce the song with saying something, I wouldn't say flattering, but just commenting on what type of community and what type of people the Vortex were. So I think we have a whole spreadsheet somewhere with all the adjectives.
With all the
Um,
things that he's called the
all the
group.
things he's called us. We're a demented group of people that you should really take pity on. We have a special kind of love for him. It's a special and aberrant love that we have, and yeah.
And it's also reciprocated, right? And I know that over the years, you guys, you're into meetups and community
Mm.
gatherings. You know, the community's pretty strong. You've met up quite a few times in person, right?
Yeah, sometimes Nick isn't even involved. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we do try to see some shows together, of course, and that first Bad Seeds tour out of lockdown was something really special. I mean, that's never going to be repeated. I think that was a very special time where we had like two or three shows where we were these really big groups from like where people came from all over the world. I mean, we had Americans, Mexicans, really people from all over meeting up for these shows, and we've kept meeting up, and the meetups happen just also when we just feel like it, not just
Mm.
when not only in connection with music or with shows.
And Nick's met up with some of you guys as well, hasn't he? You know, some artists might appreciate that there are fan communities that are appreciating their art, but keep a bit
Mm.
of distance. He's quite embraced you guys.
And when he sees a group of us, he does always like take the time to say hi and like go out of his way to yeah, to greet us. It's really special. And I think especially during the 2022 tour, it was obvious that he was like coming out after the shows and finding us because he knew we would be at the stage door afterwards if there had been a huge group of us, and he was really nice to come out and say hi and make sure to get a picture. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think Nick appreciates. He's been through so much. I think
Yeah.
he genuinely appreciates the love and affection that he gets. Um, and I know we had a message back from the photo book that Ollie and I put together
Mm.
for the charity we did a couple of years ago, and we recognise that he can't meet up with absolutely everybody, but yeah, I think he finds ways to give back to the fans as and where he can, which I
Oh, he
think is really.
does, yeah, and he still does. I mean, that is really special of for him as an artist to do that. He I was just in Bergen this summer, for the solo tour. He had 3 nights in Bergen, and like, not too, long before those shows, we lost someone in the community. We had a beautiful, beautiful guy called, Cesc, who lived in Spain, who
Yeah.
died really suddenly, and he was only I think he was 52, 53, and it was just completely out of the blue. I'd met him a few times. He was just I knew he was, like, one of the best of us, and we lost him just, like, a week before. And, um, and Nick was just so kind, and, like, you could tell the first show he was very aware of that, and he was so sweet to dedicate a song and to also meet us at the back door, and kinda you could tell that there was something. I mean, he knew to, like, give an extra squeeze and really, yeah, acknowledge that we lost someone, really special to us, and that he lost someone, really special. You could definitely tell that that was something we shared.
And I sadly never met him, but I
Mm.
had a few interactions with him. His photo was in the book that we gave to Nick.
Yeah.
I had a few messages back and forth, and yeah, he seemed like a really lovely guy. Nick calls you his coffee girl. What's the
Yes.
background there?
Well, that comes from just randomly inviting him for coffee, I think. Like I said in the Bad Seed TV, he would sometimes come in the chats, especially if we had like it started becoming like a collaboration where if there was like a special event, or like a holiday or something, they would reach out and said, "Do you have some videos that we can put on?" And we would send them. So there was like a back and forth between us and his team. And he would come into the chats, and I started making him the thing that when I was like participating in a video, I would always have like a cup of coffee and say cheers, and I would always be inviting him around for coffee in the chats when he was there. So it just kind of became my thing, and then he started calling me his coffee girl when I was on in a video and with the coffee, and then some people were like, "Oh, there's the coffee again," and then he was like, "Oh, yes, the Danish coffee girl." So that's kinda how it started, and then he started when I mostly, like, during, like, when he was on the book signing tour, he would start signing, for my coffee girl. So that's kind of we still have to get that coffee date. I'm still working on it, but, he hasn't set aside the time for it yet, but he knows he owes me a coffee.
Bless you. Well,
Yeah.
coffee is a big part of your ritual. So obviously, from if we go back to vinyl, I see you with a coffee, and you're putting the vinyl on it. So
Mm.
you this big, sound system. You've got your dad's record collection. Are you making time to listen to vinyl on a routine basis? Is this part of a ritual you have now? Because day to day so hectic. You've got a young family.
Mm.
What does your world look like for listening to vinyl records? Are you kind of between digital and the vinyl space?
Well, either I do like streaming or I put on vinyl, and I really enjoy putting on vinyl, and I do try to have it as a part of my routine. I'm pretty flexible with work, so I have a few days a week where I work from home, and I always try to if I'm not in meetings, then I usually try to have a vinyl playing. Um, and I try to make it part of yeah of my day and of my weekend. I guess I like to, like, always have some music, playing. I think that's probably something that I brought with me from my own childhood,
Mm.
and I have passed it on to my children, thankfully. My eldest, who's 15, she has her own turntable in her room and her own, record collection, so I'm very
And
proud.
Is that who I see you taking to gigs nowadays and queuing out for concerts and getting to front a barrier? Is
Yeah,
that you?
her and my nieces.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm also like I have the great advantage of being the concert aunt in my family. Whenever anyone wants to go to a concert and their own parents are too lazy to queue for 10 hours, then I am the person who gets called. I've been to many a barrier with it's like a music education for me as well. It's I get to see a lot of fun stuff that I didn't know. Like I went
Well,
to Taylor Swift in Amsterdam. We got to like 7th row
I
from the
saw.
barrier. Yep.
I saw. And that,
That was for my niece.
that leads me on to our Friday spin. We ask our guests to recommend something that they're listening to at the moment. It could be something new, it could be something old. Is there anything that you would recommend to our listeners?
Well, currently with my daughter and the whole vinyl thing, and the concert aunt barrier thing, Mitski is pretty big in our list right now because she has just announced a new upcoming album, which we are hoping will be followed up by a tour. Mitski.
Okay.
Which
And
I
what
would
type?
highly recommend. It's alternative. I don't know how to genre it. It's not pop. It's like alternative pop, but there's a lot of rock in it as well. She's this amazing creature. I think she's what is she, early 30s or something? Um, yeah, she's incredible. Listen to her. I'm really eagerly anticipating the new Flea album, his first solo.
Oh, I saw that.
Where he's on saxophone and he has both like Tom York and Nick Cave participating. I think that'll be pretty incredible. They have like one track out.
Mitski and Flea. We've gone from one extreme to another.
And then I'm really looking forward to the new Robyn album. Swedish pop singer.
Okay, so we've gone, yeah, we've flip flopped here. We've gone from Mitski to Flea to Swedish pop Robyn. All right,
Yes. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm all over the place.
you're all over the place.
And also Barry Adamson just put out a new soundtrack to a movie called Scala. Yeah, that's pretty amazing too.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I have to say I've heard of two of the four that you've thrown out there. But I'll link them up for our listeners to find. I'm sure that out of those, somebody will find something that is of interest. So
Yeah.
at this point, the Friday Vinyl Club is really, really a source of new, diverse music for me to listen to.
I'm
Uh,
gonna say one more
Go on.
because I have a Danish one.
Okay.
Which is someone I've gotten pretty obsessed with because she keeps being the opening act for all these like Nick Cave adjacent acts that come here. Like she opened for Lydia Lunch and she opened for Kid Congo when they were here. And she's called Noise Sierra, and her debut album is Butter and Blow. Just so good. It's mind-blowingly good, and it has a lot of like that prog rock feel to it. It's really good.
Marvelous. Our listeners are blessed. Katrine, thank you so much for bringing your record and your stories to Friday Vinyl Club. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. It's always amazing to hear how music becomes part of our lives, not just in sound, but in memories. To our listeners, you can find today's album and a few of the tracks we talk about on our Companion Friday Vinyl Club Spotify playlist. The link's in the notes. If you want to contact us, please feel free. Instagram at JamieB1973 or email at thefridayvinylclub@hotmail.com. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend, follow, or leave a comment. It helps us grow and others find the show. Katrine, thank you so much. Have you enjoyed that?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
talking about Nick Cave and music, it's
We
going to
can't
be a
go
good
wrong, can
time.
we?
Yeah, we can't go wrong. Yeah.
No. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
listening, guys. This has been a Friday Vinyl Club where every day feels like Friday and every album tells a story. Keep listening, and we'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.